Hello, everyone. Welcome to Across the Bifrost, the Mighty Thor podcast, where on each and every episode, we explore the world of Marvel's Mighty Thor. I am your host, Ryan Doze, doing another solo review in the wake of a pop culture sports phenomena, the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson boxing match that happened Friday night, November 15th. I'm even forgetting my dates here, but where Jake Paul beat Mike Tyson in 8 rounds, 2 minutes each, in a unanimous decision. There was a lot of gaga and shenanigans, and if you've checked out my wrestling podcast, The Near Fall, you know I love shenanigans, I love pageantry, I love showmanship and entertainment. But as I was watching the fight, this thought dawned on me. I was like, I wonder if Mike Tyson has ever showed up in a Marvel comic. And I looked, and not really, some references here and there. But then I thought to myself, hey, I'm the Thor guy. Has Thor ever engaged in a boxing match in Marvel Comics? So I'm watching boxing, and I'm more of like a boxing movie fan as opposed to a boxing sports fan. So like, I love the Rocky movies. I love Raging Bull. I love, Southpaw was a great movie that came out a few years ago. I love boxing movies. I'll watch any boxing movie, truly. But as I'm watching the fight, I'm just like, man, Thor has to have fought somebody in a boxing ring. I know he's been in a wrestling match before. One of my favorite sleeper issues of Thor is when Thor wrestles the deviant, eternal El Toro Rojo in a luchador-style pro wrestling match. That's one of my absolute favorite all-time issues of Thor. But I had to know, has Thor ever been in a boxing ring, and has he ever boxed somebody? So I went looking, and it didn't take me long to find a issue from one of my favorite titles of all time. Now, in keeping with the theme of me enjoying shenanigans, I have a soft spot for comics like Marvel Team Up, the DC books, The Brave and the Bold, DC Presents, where two heroes team up, they get together, and they face a problem, an obstacle, or a villain of the month. It's really Saturday morning cartoon kind of pop enjoyment of comics. I really enjoy that. One of my favorite titles in that vein of comics is Marvel 2-in-1, starring Ben Grimm, the Thing, who I just talked to my son about this a few weeks ago. He was really just peppering me with questions. He said, Dad, who are your favorite superheroes? And I gave him Thor, obviously, Captain America, and Ben Grimm, the Thing. Ben Grimm is a top-tier superhero in my book. He makes me laugh, super strong, super tough, and he's one of those characters that just has endless amounts of charm with the way he's written, the way he's portrayed. I love Ben Grimm. I think he's great, which is why I really enjoy the stories in Marvel 2-in-1. It's been one of those books for me that is akin to comic book comfort food. That and Marvel Team Up are comic book comfort food. I just enjoy it. It's like reading a Saturday morning cartoon. So I look at the issue that Thor has done a boxing match in, and of course it's Marvel 2-in-1 annual number 7. It comes out in 1982. It's written by longtime Thor writer Tom DeFalco, and the art is fantastic. It's in that classic Marvel style, and I wanted to tell you a little bit about this issue, and I wanted to just share my thoughts on Thor's boxing match against the champion of the universe, Trico Slatteris. So here we go. The story starts, obviously, since it's Marvel 2-in-1, and it features the Thing. The Thing is the main character of Marvel 2-in-1. Ben is being sculpted by Alicia Masters. She's doing like a model of him, and of course he's cranky, and he's like, my arm and my legs are cramping up, Alicia. Let me get down from here. She calls him, she calls him a baby essentially. And I love their relationship. I've always enjoyed Alicia and Ben's relationship. But then, as they're finishing up the sculpting, a intergalactic boxing promoter named Prajo shows up, and he's gathering up heroes from Earth to face off against the champion of the universe. The champion of the universe is challenging them to see if their planet is worthy, if they embody the spirit of competition that he values so much. So some heroes that get wrapped up in this this boxing promotion, this boxing match that's going to eventually happen at Madison Square Garden, which is absolutely fantastic. Most famous venue in the world, especially in the early 80s at the time. I mean, that place was packed all the time for whatever type of events would happen there. Some of the heroes that get roped into this are Namor, Hulk, Colossus, Wonder Man, and I read it last night and it's now escaping me. But eventually we get to Thor. Thor is picked up in Chicago, and he is brought to this big ship, this training facility, this gymnasium, where all the different heroes are put through some tests of their strength, tests of their power. Some of them, like Namor just says, no, I'm too good for this. I'm not going to do this. I'm essentially above this. And he gets disqualified because he's not a willing participant. He's not a willing competitor. He doesn't need to prove himself against the champion of the universe. A lot of the heroes, they decide they're going to give it a shot because Earth's existence is at stake here. If the champion of the universe doesn't find the Earth heroes to be possessing that spirit of competition, he's just going to invade the planet, wipe them out. It's really an interesting way to start off a alien invasion with a series of boxing matches. But we get to a point where Thor's strength has been tested, Hulk's strength has been tested, and all the other competitors. Colossus, Peter is one of our co-hosts, Will Rose's favorite X-Men. So Colossus gets a shine here as the main X-Men of the heroes that have been abducted to take on the champion of the universe. The champion of the universe shows himself to all of the competitors and basically says, hey guys, like, you're not going to beat me, but it's really not about that. It's about testing yourself against me. And if I feel like you've embodied the spirit of competition, I'll let Earth, I'll leave Earth alone and I'll just move on to the next galaxy, the next planet that I wish to test in this competitive way. We get to the day of the boxing exhibition, and several different heroes that haven't been chosen to fight here show up. As they were abducting the heroes at the beginning of the story, Vision and Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, show up, and they're just kind of thrown in as a little cameo. The intergalactic boxing promoter shows up and says, I'm looking for the one they call the Vision. But then he realizes that Vision isn't actually humanoid. He's a synthezoid. He's a robot. And he said, oh, well, never mind. I'll just move on to the next guy. So we see Vision and Wanda for a very brief blink and you miss it page, which was kind of weird because they had left the Avengers at this point. They state that in the panels that they're actually a part of. We drop in on the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and they're like, what are we going to do? The Madison Square Garden is protected by this bubble. We can't intervene. We just have to watch the heroes that have been chosen try to beat this champion for the fate of the world that's at stake. They actually sell tickets to this event. They sell tickets to an event where the winner gets to decide what to do with Earth. Like, if there's not a more fitting way to describe the sadness of capitalism, it's that. It's like, hey, Earth might be destroyed if this thing doesn't go our way. Why don't we sell tickets to it? Why don't we sell merch? Why don't we run a story in the Daily Bugle? Things like that. So it's just kind of I feel like Tom DeFalco is maybe trying to say something there that, even when the fate of the world is at stake, we could still make some money off of this. The night of the fight comes, and Wolverine and Cyclops actually sneak into the event, and they try to get through the bubble to release the heroes. Wolverine goes at it with his claws. Cyclops tries to blast it with his optic blast, and nothing is getting through. The heroes have finally come to the realization, for them to save Earth, they have to rely on the heroes that are already in the competition. And here's how the fights go. Our guy, Thor, the God of Thunder, actually starts off the event. He starts off fighting the champion of the universe first, because I feel like the champion of the universe realizes that Thor might be his biggest competition when it comes to being a warrior, being a fighter. He does refer to him as being clumsy, but he's not as clumsy as the Hulk. So he fights him first, and Thor is he's transported to the ring, and while he's being transported to the ring, he's stripped of his garb, and he's got this boxing gear on. And I love the way that the artist, I believe Ron Wilson, depicts Thor as a boxer. I mean, he looks like an 80s wrestler. He looks like an 80s action figure in the boxing trunks, but he has Mjolnir with him, because this is still at the time where he could not be separated from Mjolnir for more than 60 seconds. So he has to hold on to Mjolnir, or else he turns into Donald Blake. And if Donald Blake takes a punch from the champion of the universe, Donald Blake dies. There's just absolutely no way around it. Donald Blake dies in this fight almost instantly. Maybe just atmospherically, the spirit of competition would just crush him. Thor has to hold on to Mjolnir, and the champion kind of lets this happen for a little while. They fight for a little bit, and then Thor gets kind of frustrated. Let me pull this up here. He gets a little frustrated and decides that he's going to try a different type of tactic. And that tactic really simply is throwing the hammer at the champion of the universe. So there is... Good grief, now of course it won't come up. So... Okay, here we go. The champion of the universe says, "Your limbs possess incalculable strength, Thunderlord, but they lack the necessary speed and finesse for the ring. See, you are no match for one of superior skill." Thor replies by saying, "I say thee nay. A stranger and a novice Thor may be to this formal charade called boxing, but still I shall battle, still I shall triumph." He knocks the champion of the universe back with the hammer, which is the first time he's used the hammer in this fight. Thor says, "Beware, villain, you now face the shattering fury of Mjolnir, the mystic mallet of Thor." The champion, after being hit initially with Mjolnir, just stands there as Mjolnir is flying at him. He says, "Your weapon is truly formidable, but it has no place in this ring of honor." And the hammer disappears. He throws it back at Thor, doesn't allow it to hit him, and says, "I can sense that part of your hammer's enchantment is that it must always return to your hand. I shall not deny it its destiny. This fight is over. You are disqualified for using your weapon illegally." And then it's a blink, and Thor is back to soaring over the city of Chicago, because at the time Donald Blake is in Chicago, and that's kind of Thor's Earth base of operations. And Thor says, "By the gods, I have been instantaneously returned to Chicago. Never before hath the God of Thunder been so callously dismissed." So that's the end of Thor in this issue. But we go on and we have fights with the Hulk, fights with Colossus, fights with Wonder Man, and then eventually we get to the fight with Ben Grimm and the Champion of the Universe. Ben is, of course, the star of the book, and he's left till last. Ben's whole strategy is not to beat the Champion of the Universe, but to outlast him, to keep the rounds going, and to prove that he essentially has moxie. He has this spirit of competition that the Champion of the Universe is actually going to decide Earth's fate on. So Ben really isn't focused on beating him, even though, yeah, it would be nice. He's not throwing soft punches. They go a full 3 rounds, which is longer than any other competitor had ever taken the Champion of the Universe in these matches. So Ben proves to the Champion of the Universe that Earth is worth saving because we're fighters. We're not going to quit. We're going to keep coming back and coming back and coming back. And the Champion of the Universe says, hey, that's actually good enough for me. I will move on to a different universe. And he does say the greatest gift, the greatest reward that he could give Ben is a rematch. So we kind of set that intention for later, possibly teasing that the Champion of the Universe will come back and grant Ben that rematch, that hallowed gift that he has never given anybody else. There's some great art here at the end of the issue where Ron Wilson depicts the Champion of the Universe in this very dark and grim way, pun intended, I guess, this dark and grim way with the title belt. There's also some great big shots of Ben. Ben is, there's a one panel before their fight, actually, where Ben is in the classic boxing robe with the hood, and he's got taped up fists. It's fantastic art. The fight ends. The Champion of the Universe blips out. His wrestling promoter guy, he also blips out. They're going to leave Earth alone for now. The bubble is deteriorated around Madison Square Garden. All the heroes that were either in the press boxes or they're trying to get in the bubble, like Wolverine and Cyclops, all the heroes get into the ring and they basically do the celebration with Ben that he saved Earth by just not giving up the fight. So that is my review for Marvel 2-in-1 number 7, and They Shall Call Him Champion. This is a great issue, a great annual sized, just sports themed comic. I love Ben. I love Thor, obviously, but this was just a great little timely issue to look at not only because of the Jake Paul and Mike Tyson fight, but I also realized that I haven't really talked a lot about Fantastic Four, and we're getting that Fantastic Four movie coming up in the next, I believe, next year or two. So I would really like to talk more about Ben Grimm because I really, really enjoy him as a character, and he is one of those characters that maybe in modern comics isn't as highlighted, but in the 70s and 80s, I feel like Ben was kind of next to Spider-Man. He was that guy you could put next to any hero and there could be a story. He could just have fun, or he could banter with, he could have a friendly sparring match with someone. I feel like Ben was definitely that character, and I wish he could be that character again. I've been of the opinion that Marvel could really do some cool stuff in the team up 2-in-1, just doing like an ongoing book like that. Maybe testing out new writers, new artists, throwing together really popular superheroes with kind of less popular superheroes, throwing a popular superhero with a kind of forgotten superhero. That I just think that would be a fun way to do a book, and I think Ben Grimm would be a really good guy to do that with because he's just so much fun to read. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed this solo review of an older comic, but a timely comic because boxing is kind of in the zeitgeist right now. But that time Thor fought the Champion of the Universe and didn't win, But boy, if he'd have been allowed to use that hammer just a few more times, I think he could have gotten the job done. So thank you so much for listening to this. I hope that you check us out on Instagram at Marvel Thor Podcast. I hope that you check out the link in the episode description for Patreon. We have a lot of cool stuff over there that you can check out. We're getting to get more pre-games up there, things for you to enjoy that will not be available on this main feed. And check out our Discord. The conversation continues in our Discord all the time. We got a great group, a small but mighty band over there at Discord that would love to interact with you. So whether you're following us on Instagram, whether you're joining the Thor Corps on Patreon, or you're joining our small but mighty band on Discord, we just hope we can continue the conversation with you. We've got great episodes coming up for new comics, so we hope you come back to us very, very soon and check that out. But until then, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, we hope that you do one thing, and that is that you always stay worthy.